Giant panda. The giant panda is one of the most beloved animals in the world. They're cute, cuddly, and appear on countless souvenirs and advertisements. But when it comes to intelligence and survival strategy, pandas tell a very different story. Pandas evolved from carnivorous ancestors and still possess a digestive system similar to other bears. Yet somehow, they switched to a diet consisting almost entirely of bamboo. The problem? Bamboo contains very little nutrition. As a result, pandas spend between 10 and 16 hours every single day eating. An adult panda may consume more than 30 kilograms, or 66 pounds, of bamboo daily just to stay alive. They eat enormous amounts of food while gaining very little energy. Their reproductive habits aren't much better. Female pandas are fertile for only a very short period each year. Many captive pandas have shown little interest in mating at all. Conservation programs have spent millions of dollars trying to help the species reproduce and maintain healthy populations. If nature were a competition based on efficiency, pandas probably wouldn't be winning any trophies. Turkeys. Turkeys are another classic example. Many farmers consider them among the strangest domesticated birds on Earth. One of the most famous stories about turkeys is that they sometimes stare up at the sky when it rains. That may not sound strange at first, but in some cases they can become so fixated that they appear completely distracted from their surroundings. While many of these stories have been exaggerated over the years, experts generally agree that turkeys are not exactly intellectual powerhouses. Their problem-solving skills are fairly limited. They also tend to panic easily. In large farms, a sudden noise or unfamiliar object can send an entire flock into chaos. What's interesting is that their wild ancestors are actually much smarter and more capable. However, centuries of selective breeding have reduced many of their natural survival instincts. The result is a large, awkward bird that often seems confused by the world around it. The dodo. If there were an award for the worst survival decisions in history, the dodo would be a strong candidate. This flightless bird once lived on the island of Mauritius. For millions of years, it had no natural predators. As a result, the dodo never developed a strong fear response. When humans arrived on the island in the 16th century, the birds showed almost no concern. Instead of running away, many dodos simply stood still or approached people out of curiosity. That turned out to be a terrible strategy when faced with hungry sailors. Things became even worse when humans introduced animals such as dogs, cats, and rats to the island. These newcomers raided dodo nests and destroyed their eggs. Within about a century of human arrival, the entire species had disappeared forever. Extinction alone doesn't prove an animal is unintelligent, but failing to recognize obvious dangers certainly didn't help the dodo's chances. The ocean sunfish. The ocean sunfish, also known as the mola mola, is the heaviest bony fish in the world. Some individuals can weigh more than 2 tons, but enormous size doesn't automatically mean enormous intelligence. In fact, the sunfish has an incredibly tiny brain compared to its body. In some cases, its brain weighs only a few grams. The species displays behaviors that continue to puzzle scientists. Sunfish often spend hours floating sideways near the ocean's surface, doing almost nothing. This makes them easy targets for predators such as sharks and killer whales. Their primary food source is jellyfish, which provide very little nutrition. As a result, they must consume huge quantities of food just to maintain their massive bodies. Sometimes they even launch themselves completely out of the water before crashing back down. Scientists believe this behavior helps remove parasites. Still, from a human perspective, it often looks like a giant floating pancake making questionable life choices. Koalas. Koalas are one of Australia's most famous animals, but beneath that adorable appearance lies one of the most unusual brains in the animal kingdom. Their brains are relatively small compared to their skull size. In fact, much of the space inside the skull is filled with fluid rather than brain tissue. Their diet doesn't help either. Koalas survive almost entirely on eucalyptus leaves. These leaves contain very little nutrition and are mildly toxic. To conserve energy, koalas sleep between 18 and 22 hours every day. Their adaptability is also surprisingly limited. In a famous observation, researchers found that if eucalyptus leaves were removed from a branch and placed on a flat surface, Some koalas failed to recognize them as food. They were simply too accustomed to seeing the leaves attached to trees. This suggests that their ability to deal with unfamiliar situations is not particularly impressive. Sloths. Sloths are famous for being incredibly slow. A sloth may take several minutes just to move a short distance. But sluggish movement isn't the only reason they appear on this list. Their brains are relatively simple compared to many other mammals. They also react very slowly to threats. In some situations, predators can get remarkably close before a sloth even notices the danger. One of the strangest things about sloths is their bathroom routine. About once a week, they climb all the way down from their trees to relieve themselves on the ground. This is by far the most dangerous moment of their lives. A large percentage of sloth deaths occur during these trips. Scientists still aren't completely sure why they don't simply stay in the safety of the trees. Sometimes nature creates mysteries that are difficult to explain. Ostriches. Ostriches are the largest birds on Earth. They can run at speeds exceeding 70 kilometers or 43 miles per hour. They also possess powerful legs capable of delivering kicks strong enough to injure or even kill large predators. Sounds impressive, right? Well, intelligence isn't exactly their strongest feature. An ostrich's brain is actually smaller than one of its eyes. That's a rare ratio in the animal kingdom. Although the popular myth that ostriches bury their heads in the sand is false, they still display some questionable behavior. When frightened, they often react purely on instinct. They may run in seemingly random directions without carefully assessing the situation. Fortunately for them, incredible speed usually compensates for poor decision-making. Jellyfish. Jellyfish might be the simplest creatures on this list, and here's the most surprising fact. They don't have a brain. That's right. No brain, no heart, no bones, no central nervous system like most animals. Instead, jellyfish rely on a simple network of nerves spread throughout their bodies. This network allows them to respond to light, movement, and environmental changes. But they don't think in the way we normally imagine animals thinking. Technically speaking, it's difficult to describe a brainless creature as intelligent. Yet jellyfish have survived for more than 500 million years. They existed long before dinosaurs ever appeared. And that proves something fascinating about evolution. You don't necessarily need to be smart to succeed. Sometimes being simple is enough. And those were some of the dumbest animals in the world. If you enjoyed these weird and fascinating animal facts, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more amazing content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.